Mate, it honestly from sort of Wednesday evening when Chelsea put a bid in for Lavia until until the deals were pretty much announced. The here we goes came through for both. By the time both were done, sort of late Monday, early Tuesday, it was the craziest 4 or 5 days I've ever had in terms of covering transfers. I didn't know if I was coming or going, and it was. And you know me, I don't call out journalists, but it was sort of top journalists saying, for Liverpool getting Caicedo, personal terms are, medicals in the morning, paperwork's being done, personal terms of formality, just for 3 or 4 hours later, the world to change. And that wasn't a dig on them. It was the behavior of the clubs. And it was honestly, because it wasn't my club involved, it was a beautiful thing to watch. I'm not going to lie. I absolutely, you know me, I love transfers, and I absolutely loved the way it all kind of went. And it feels like we're maybe gearing up for a bit more of this, because it's been reported in the last 24 hours that Manchester United are interested now and have inquired into Bayern Munich about Ryan Gravenberch. We know United have agreed personal terms, according to a lot of reports from Italy, with Amrabat. But it now appears that Liverpool, despite signing Endo last night, are also looking at both of those players and could also make a move. So maybe another battle here for 2 more top-class players involving Liverpool.
Yeah, absolutely. And, from a Liverpool point of view, they need to kind of start winning a battle of their own. They've just been ambushed for Lavia. And now if they could hijack Man United's move for Amrabat, it would give them a little win of their own in this transfer window. And it would give them a big player coming through the door as well. I have to admit, I was quite skeptical at first of the Amrabat link. It just felt like a bit of an obvious one to throw out there on the back of them missing out on the players. But as soon as you start to look into it a bit more, there was something there. Like, Liverpool have definitely started to explore this. I think mostly to see, can Amrabat be persuaded to go anywhere else in the Premier League? He's had his heart's been set on going to Man United. His mind's been set on going to Man United. Like, the fee is all set up. The personal terms are all set up. Fiorentina are ready to sell him to Man United. They have been anyway, up to now, because suddenly it's just like, oh, we've hit a brick wall. Because Man United haven't been able to get the extra midfielder out of the door on top of Fred, we're at a standstill. Amrabat can't wait and wait and wait. Look, it's a tough one for him, but if Liverpool are suddenly knocking on the door, that does give him a big decision to make. And if I was Liverpool, I think I would be knocking on that door. It's not a lot of money, is it? Like, you think of what the Amrabat deal is being set up at. Like, this is a steal.
It's mid-20s, and this man is so good. And look, I'm a big fan of Caicedo, big fan of Lavia, big fan of Declan Rice. But those deals are 55 millions, 100 millions, 115 millions. Amrabat, in my opinion, he can stand shoulder to shoulder with those players and hold his own in midfield battles as a technical footballer with his stamina, his energy, and his experience. To pick him up for a quarter of the price of Declan Rice for either Liverpool or Manchester United is an absolute brilliant piece of business. My fear, as you've said, is Man United have agreed these personal terms for ages. We've been waiting now for the deals to move on, and with Donny van der Beek stalling, with McTominay not moving forward, my hope is really that City sign Paqueta and then West Ham come in and say, look, boom, there's the money for McTominay. But I'm getting worried now because we're doing this, and I understand why we're doing it. We want to balance the books, but you also get to a point where you've just seen what's happened to Liverpool with Lavia. I just need to not be stupid here and not sort of miss out on a top-class midfielder that's going to improve us massively and allow him to go to our biggest and bitterest rivals. I'm genuinely fearful of that happening, Dean.
Yeah, look, we're coming into the season. I did a season preview on our podcast, Ranks FC, last week, and I had like Liverpool, Man United coming to the season pretty much on a par. I was like, I feel like these two clubs can end up like potentially second, but at least third in the Premier League, and I feel like they should be fighting it out. And I think that a signing like this really goes a long way to dictating who has the upper hand in that battle. I think if Man United don't get Amrabat after all this and end up making a weird last-minute signing on deadline day that just doesn't fit like they've done various times in the past, it just doesn't hold up. And Liverpool now under pressure to actually go and do that. Obviously, they have made a signing or are on the verge of making a signing, Arturo Endo from Stuttgart. But that's not the one. Like that, I don't think that is the guy that Liverpool are pinning their hopes on here. all the noises are that they won't be finished in the midfield market. And that's interesting because obviously, like, you look at Liverpool and the fact they lost Fabinho and Henderson. No one really talks about the fact they also lost James Milner. And I think that Endo perhaps goes to make up for that Milner-Henderson hybrid loss rather than the Fabinho loss. So I feel like Endo going in there as a player who has experience. I know a lot of people are slating him for, like, well, how can, you can't sign a guy who's been in relegation battles in Germany to stick him into a team that should be challenging for the Premier League title. Well, my argument that would be, well, they were going to sign Lavia for 60 million, who was relegated. So at least this guy wasn't actually relegated. Like, I don't think that.
No, I agree. I always feel, I see a lot of people do this on Twitter where we shouldn't sign players that got relegated. And with Man United, they always use Maguire as the example, and he hasn't worked out. But Andy Robertson got relegated with Hull.
Yeah.
And there's an argument to say he's the best left back Liverpool have had in the Premier League era. Been one of the best left backs in the world during that time. There are gems still that get. There was a time in the Premier League, I don't know if he actually won the Golden Boot, but he was definitely one of the highest goal scorers, where Ravanelli was one of the highest goal scorers in the league, but Borough got relegated.
They did.
That didn't mean he weren't a good striker. So yeah, I don't always think, correlation and causation don't always add up to the same thing. And with Endo, look, I like to laugh at Liverpool. I'm a Man United fan, but I have a feeling they might have signed him anyway. I have a feeling that he might have been a player that they brought in after landing their marquee signing.
Yeah.
But just the order in which they've done this, it looks like a panic. And of course, there's a lot of banter. I've seen they sold Hendo and they bought Endo. They wanted Enzo and they got Endo. Someone actually did a funny one where they said they wanted Enzo and Caicedo. You put the names together and it's Endo. And there's a lot of banter in there. But I've got a feeling about this Endo guy. I think he actually might be a good signing, and people are going to look a little bit silly, kind of mocking Liverpool, especially if he's only 18 million euros. I think there's a player in there. Yeah. They're also looking at I always want to say Gravenberch, but Gravenberch as well. So are Man United, and of course Santi came out yesterday. Alfredo came out yesterday and said both are reactivating their interest. The player prefers Man United, but again, we're in a position where we maybe can't buy until we sell. Yeah. And Liverpool, again, if Liverpool end up with Gravenberch, Endo, and Amrabat, suddenly it's a phenomenal summer.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I mean, look, Gravenberch obviously has links to Ten Hag. I don't personally see that Gravenberch is exactly the right profile fit for what Man United need in the midfield now, but you could argue like anything is good for United's midfield right now. So I'll take that on board as well. But Liverpool have had the most interest throughout this particular transfer window. And I mean, coming into it, it was supposed to be one of the priorities. It was supposed to be like a June deal where they were like, right, let's clear up his situation at Bayern Munich. Is he in the plans there? If he is, then we'll move on from it. And if he's not, then let's get him through the door. Here we are, like back end of August, looking towards deadline day now, and he's still there and seems a little bit in limbo. So I think that Liverpool would have the upper hand in terms of like the scope they might have made already on the deal, but there's always that Ten Hag factor.